few things that I want to talk to you guys about. It's a lot going on in this world, a lot of crazy things happening, and of course, we're in the middle of it. So, let's jump right into it. So, for my first topic I have here today, I want to talk about the movie Cuties. I know. I know probably as soon like I know off rip y'all like, oh, I'm about to shut this shit off. I don't want to hear about this shit. But no, we have to talk about it. Like truly, we do. Um First, let me start off with I watched the movie so you guys don't have to. And let's talk about the controversy. I want to get into the controversy first before I actually talk about the movie itself. So, the whole controversy happened with this movie. I want to say like the beginning of August. In the beginning of August, we started seeing Netflix starting to post this movie and promote it and let people know that it's coming. And it left people uneasy because who wants to see a bunch of 11-year-olds twerking and shit like that with the type of clothes that they have on in this movie? But cool. Let's just skip past that, even though it's a very important part. I'm going to get back to it, I promise you. So, started hitting. People were calling to boycott the movie of all races, honey. Black, white, Asian, otherwise. Everybody wanted this movie to be done. So people were telling Netflix like, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you. And then of course people started digging and doing their research because you know social media, especially Twitter, knows no bounds. And they found out that the director of Cuties is a black woman. So people are like, you know, how could you make this, especially as a black woman? There's already too much over sexualization of our girls in a community as is. What's wrong with you? So people are just like, you know, going in on her and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I want to see what Shorty is about. I want to know what's going on. So I did some research and I found out that I really don't know how to pronounce her name, so we just gonna call her French director because I don't want to butcher her name. But she's from France, and one thing about the French, they are very they don't certain things in America we would view as like, oh, that's too sexual, oh, that's too fresh, that's too grown. In France, they don't really see the same. Like our like people in France, like at the age of 11, you can have a cup of wine with your parents. So it's just like, you know, certain things are viewed different. So I did keep that in mind that the French have a totally different culture from us, but at the same time, black women all over, French, British, American, whatever, do experience exploitation. Like that's why it's called an African diaspora, because we all are somehow connected to each other in our pain, happiness, all of that. But cool. So after I did my digging, I found out more about her life, and I found out that Cuties, I don't want to say it was inspired, but it had elements of a short film that she had already put out called Mamans, and that basically means moms in I guess French or maybe Senegalese, because she is of Senegalese descent and they do speak Senegalese in the movie, well, in the short. So maybe that's what it is. But anywho, she basically said that the movie Cuties is supposed to be a coming of age story, and it's supposed to shine a light on how child exploitation happens. And I would have to say I agree. The movie definitely shines a light on exactly what's going on in the world. Like, this is, sad to say, a 2020 coming of age story. So let me get into what that means to me and for you, because you're probably like, what do you mean she's right? Like, she's wrong. Why'd you put this out? Um, she grew up Muslim, and in her family, in her household, her father did wind up taking a second wife when she was at the age of 11, and she didn't really know how to handle that, and that's what Mamans is inspired about, and that's what Ami, the little girl in Cuties, Aminata, that's her name, is going through. So the movie kind of explores her really trying to find herself. It's like, am I gonna be super religious? Am I gonna be super religious and make my mother and my grandmother proud, or do I wanna be wild and twerk and do this and do that? Like, who am I? And she's basically on this journey trying to find herself, and she's basically going each way of two extremes because her life is becoming an extreme. Imagine being 11 years old, you're with your mom, you have your siblings, and your dad just comes home and is just like, okay, well, I'm getting married to another woman. Like, I feel like a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we like to act like polygamy is just a thing of life. And I remember Jadina, the guy who sings Classic Man, was talking about this in an interview, and he was saying how no woman will, not every woman obviously, but no woman in a real polygamous relationship, and emphasis on real, not some shit that niggas is just doing for social media, not something that someone just real, like, y'all let that, I'll leave that up to your interpretation. But any woman who's been in a real polygamous relationship, it's not happy. Like, it's not something that's just like, oh, da da da. Like, it's very trying. And when he said that, I thought it was really profound because, like, a lot of times, like, you know, hoteps will get on social media and they'll try to make it seem like, oh, polygamy is what our ancestors were doing and yada, 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 and this, that, and the third. It's natural. It's natural for a man to be with multiple women. And I don't deny that to an extent. I think that certain men, yes, that's their instinct, and then certain men, they really can be with one woman. Or it depends on what you're into, but that's not the point I'm making. I found it really profound at the time because nowadays people, you know, big polygamy up to be this beautiful, grand thing. And to see this little girl, Amy, basically having a mental breakdown almost because the culture and the religion that she's raised in is basically forcing her to, this is right. This is what you, this is what's right. Like, you have no say in this. If you feel some type of way, if your mother feels some type of way, it doesn't matter because this is what has to happen. I remember there's a scene in Mamans and Cuties, because the movie, they parallel each other. They're basically, even though the director claimed that they're not the same movie, they pretty much are. And I'm going to get into that a little after, but let me just get back to this point. Just keep in mind that the movies are pretty much the same for now. There's a scene where Ami is basically under the bed eavesdropping, and she hears her mother calling people to let them know that her father has taken another wife. And the grandmother comes in out of nowhere and she's just like, you need to be a woman about this. You can't be sitting here crying. Like, I at least expect you to pull it together enough and do what you have to do. And she's obviously upset and distraught and hurt about this. But because this is her religion, this is her culture, this is something that's been ingrained in her, she kind of sucks it up and calls people, and in the middle of one of her calls she starts crying and she hangs up or whatever. And because Amy is under the bed eavesdropping, she starts to cry because she feels bad for her mom. Why is my mom crying? Ooh, I've been talking for so long, y'all. But anywho, Yeah, so it was very trying. So for an 11-year-old girl to be going through something, and we're talking about 11-year-old girl in this era, like 11-year-old girl in 2020 who has access to social media. She just has to open up her phone and society is already telling her what a normal family looks like isn't her because she has black skin. Now, combine that with being Muslim, combine that with on top of that, having two mothers, it's a lot. Like anyone would have a that would be hard for anyone. Anyone would be hurt, especially because she's a girl. Like one thing in a movie that hold on, yeah, because I need to take a sip of water. Whew. One thing that was very funny to me in the movie is her little brother had no cares. This little boy is fucking flooding the house, running around with nothing on. Like he's just having a grand old time, and it just shows how the growing up, the struggle between boys and girls are very different, and it just shows how much pressure as young women we're under, which is why I will say that a movie like Cuties is needed. But the graphics, because y'all know y'all, come on, come on. Like, I know I always come with the crazy hot takes, but it always got to be a little spicy. The graphics is what wasn't needed. It was too much. Like the shots of like their vagina when they're dropping it low and stuff like that was just too much. There's a scene where Amy, she's like on the ground twerking. I'm like, girl, I don't even know that move. Like it was very disturbing, which leads me to Netflix, because I feel like the actual movie itself, Cuties, and Netflix are two different things. And the more I go, you guys are gonna understand. You just have to stick with me. Let's start here. So first and foremost, I feel as if Netflix, they knew what they were doing when they made the cover art. The little girls, one is, got her legs spread open. The other one is like under her. Like they knew what they were doing with the provocative cover art. They knew what they were doing with the promotion. Like, bro, literally, when I first watched the trailer to Cuties, I thought that this was going to be like some twerk team movie. Like I thought it was going to be a movie about like friendship and girls getting together to twerk. And I wasn't here for it. Like I was like, no, I am not watching a movie about that with 11-year-olds. Then when I actually watched the movie, this movie's about this girl, Amy, trying to find herself, trying to figure out which one she wants to do. And spoiler alert, at the end, she decides that she doesn't want to do neither. And she goes outside with her hair out, no hijab, just curls flowing, with a red shirt on that's covering her chest, jeans that cover up good for 11-year-old. And she's jumping rope like an 11-year-old should. And I love the last scene because as she's jumping rope, she's jumping higher and higher and higher, like above the buildings. Obviously, that's not what she's doing, but that's what the shot is, symbolizing her feeling the true freedom a child should feel. Her feeling innocent, her feeling the weight of the world off of her shoulder. So, Netflix knew what they were doing. They knew that because coming from an editor's background, there were several shots in that movie that would have invoked just as much shock value and would have pulled at people's heartstrings and wanted to make them watch it more than what they were promoting. And I say that to say this. Netflix has some shady shit going on. Like, Netflix is the real issue when it comes to this whole Cuties movie. So, final thoughts on Cuties. It was actually a really good movie. I think that families should watch it together, especially if they have, I don't think you should watch it with young children, but if you have children over the age of, I would say like 12 or 13, I would definitely sit down as a family and watch the movie. Talk about the pressures they feel from society about sex. Talk about the issues that they're having at home and at school. Because let me tell you something. Even though the movie was disturbing, I'm going to tell y'all a quick story and I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to move on to Charlamagne and Joe Budden because I know that's what y'all want to hear. One of the things that watching a movie, as much as it was disgusting, and I cannot reiterate that more, seeing those scenes, I remember being 11, 12 years old, and there was this party that everybody in my neighborhood was going to. Like, everybody was going. Like, everyone in all the nearby schools was talking about, like, if you went to school in my area, people were talking about this party. And I wanted to go so bad, and I had finally convinced my mother to let me go out myself with my friends, because at that point I was 12. So any party that I had been to, my mother had took me. So I finally convinced my mom to let me go by myself. And then, like, the biggest problem after that was, I need to learn how to whine. I need to learn how to, like, do a little something. And I was 12. And at the time, like, it was what other 12-year-olds was doing. Like, all of my friends, they knew how to whine and twerk and dance. All of the girls around that age knew how to do it. We had the party. That's all people were doing. Remember, like, if you were born in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s, you remember dubbing parties. So I say all of this to say that it's not that far-fetched for 11-year-old girls to get up together and have a twerk team. It's not far-fetched. It's really not, because when I was younger, that's what I wanted to do, to impress boys, to impress my friends, to show people I have moves. So, and on top of that, I will say at that time, I was heavily pressured by society to feel sexy at the age of 12. Yes. Like, this is why we have to have conversations like this, honest ones too. Like, I always felt at that age like I wanted someone to want me, someone to desire me. And because society is so overly sexualized, for a 12-year-old girl, beauty is sex, because that's what society says it is. But if I keep going on, I will never talk about Charlamagne and Joe Budden, and that is equally as important. So we are going to move on. So let's talk about it. So I had a lot of notes for Joe Budden and Charlamagne, but I'm gonna actually start off where all of this shit. I'm gonna start because I feel like y'all already know, like, if you've been following, if you're into, like, entrepreneurship, black business, all of that goody stuff, you guys pretty much know where I'm about to go with this. So long story short, Joe Budden is leaving Spotify. Charlamagne the God was mad about that, and now we know why. And I'm here to talk to y'all about niggas like Joe and niggas like Charlamagne, because if you watch this podcast for any long extended amount of time, you know that I do not like Joe Budden like that. But I actually agree with him in this situation. So we're gonna talk about it. Guys like Charlamagne the God. People like Charlamagne the God, really, and take this lightly. I'm telling y'all to take me with a grain of salt in this conversation, because I'm gonna use a lot of things that might represent other stuff, but just stick with me. Guys like Charlamagne definitely follow the that old industry mindset about, like, it can only be one black this, one black that. Like, it can only be one black person killing it in every field, period. And it's funny that he's like that to me, because this is Mr. Black Privilege. This is Mr. New York's bestseller. This is black business, black voices, black entrepreneurship. So for him to be so, it's funny. So when Joe Budden was getting into Charlemagne's actual contract, because Charlemagne is acting like he's part owner of iHeart, because that's what they said. And what Joe Budden said is very true. This is something that Dame Dash has said on The Breakfast Club to Charlemagne. You are not the boss if you're not putting up money. Period. You can't be. There's no way you could be. Like, if you did not invest your own money into something, you're not the boss. It doesn't matter if you had a dream or a vision, whatever the fuck you had, it doesn't matter. Point in case, Monopoly. Favorite board game. The person who gets the money from Monopoly is not the person who thought of the game. So y'all could look that up. I'm not going to get too much into it. But the person who actually thought of the idea Monopoly, his friends he was playing it with, telling his ideas to, they went behind his back, trademarked it, did whatever, and they started selling the game. And guess what? Now their great grandkids are good, and his are probably somewhere regular degular. And that's a lot of that happens to a lot of our artists. And when I say artists, not even just music, podcasting, media, anything that you can think of that black people are in, the NBA, the NFL, any part of entertainment that we are in, we tend to make money for some white corporate dude to be rich and his grandkids. So when Joe Budden was actually breaking down his contract, it was interesting to me because it says like he's not part owner. All he's doing is bringing other black people onto iHeart and owning half of them. And when I thought about it, I'm like, very like slave catcherish, like very like oh, I'm gonna bring all of you guys over here to iHeart and make money off of you guys, and I'm gonna be over here and I'm gonna be good. And Joe Budden basically was saying like a lot of stuff he was saying to me was just like on point. Like everything he was saying was on point, because it's just like, if you want to be a high paid employee, that's fine. That's cool. And I cannot stress that enough. Like, that is literally okay. Like, money is money. But you cannot say that you're the boss. Because at the end of the day, if they decided that they wanted to take the Breakfast Club away from Charlemagne, they could. Same way they took Uncommon Sense, the same way they snatched up that HBO show, and the same way that fucking, according to Joe Budden, Spotify told him suck his dick. So, it's just strange to me because Joe Budden is really trying to do a good thing. Like, he's talking about information, and not for nothing, what he was saying is the reason why places like this need support. The reason why places like S.STREET Media deserve a chance, because no white man put the lights in here. No white person paid for these mics. Like, this is 100% black owned, people of color. Like, this is feel me, like, this is the heart. Like, this is real. So for niggas like Charlemagne to create some shit like Black Effect, and you basically only putting on people already established, that's one. So you're really not doing anything in the black community. You're doing stuff for already established black podcasters. It's just like, how do y'all not see through this? How do y'all not see through this? Like, I get that it's funnier to talk about how Joe Budden molested his dog, but like, let's get real. Like, let's really talk about it. Like, this man said, people are calling me now and they're like, Joe, name your stock. And he said, I don't want it because I want my own. And I think that we need to really get into that mentality. And like, I know that this is what's being preached online over again. But black people, we just need to be real with ourselves. What do you want? And understand that what you want doesn't make what the next black person wants any less or any more. Period. And that's like the issue with Charlemagne and Joe Budden. Charlemagne is over here and he feels like Joe Budden's telling secrets. He's telling this. It's not supposed to be that many people in the industry. Like, you're supposed to be discreet. Don't do it till it's done. And I can commend Charlemagne on that, because one thing I will give him, he never says anything about anything until it's done. But at the same time, what I can also give it to Joe Budden and say, like, yo, when he was on Everyday Struggle, he told DJ Academics, yo, why are we paying them to hold the lights and cameras? We can literally pay a camera guy ourselves and do this ourselves. It was my idea and they come for you, so let's do it. And the fact that, there are people who want to put in work, and then there are people who rather receive work, and not like that, but like people rather like sit back and like let it be done, and that's fine. I just feel like we need to get up to a point where y'all gotta realize that we are not all the same. Like, before they took us from Africa, we were part of different tribes that didn't even speak the same language, follow the same religion, have the same practices or anything. They just had the same complexion. And even that is like for interpretation, because I'm not the same complexion as the next black person. So like, point is, we come from we are very diverse people. Our ancestors are diverse. We are the definition of diversity, period. So for Charlemagne to feel like Joe Budden is fucking his shit up because he has an opinion or he sees a way to do something different, y'all gotta be careful of people like that. Like, y'all gotta be careful of those who put themselves in the guise of oh, I'm for the community, I'm this, I'm that, and then like when it really comes down to it, people like and it's funny because Monique Ben said that Charlemagne was like this. Monique said verbatim, like, remember just now I said Charlemagne was a slave catcher, and I told y'all earlier on in the podcast, stick with me. Monique said verbatim that Charlemagne the God is a literal representation of the black man who walked his wife into the slave master's house at the end of Birth of a Nation. So y'all just gotta do y'all. Like, you just can't listen to Joe Budden, Charlemagne, or me. Like, you just can't listen to anyone. You have to do what's best for you. Me, I know personally, I don't like for people to tell me what to do. I like to do stuff on my own time. So, being on a real black media network, hey, S.STREET Media, shout out, works for me. Because when this shit does take the fuck off, and when my shit does blow up like it's been popping off, I'm gonna be in a position where I don't gotta go to White Daddy and ask him for a bonus. Like, yo, they fucking called Noriega on the Joe Budden podcast and asked him, like, yo, what's going on? And then my whole thing is like, oh, let me backtrack. And I gotta take a sip of water because this shit is too juicy. Before I get on Nori, back to the smear campaign. And I know I'm all over the place, and that's just how I am. Y'all either gotta stick with me or I don't. The fact that iHeart is trying to get Joe Budden out the paint with this humiliation ritual, because it's not a smear campaign, it's a humiliation ritual. The fact that they're trying to get him out of the paint with all of this is crazy. Like Andrew Schultz, and I forgot the fucking Indian dude he does Flagrant 2 clips with, are literally sitting there ragging on Joe Budden about his negotiation skills. And I'm not even going to say they don't even realize the context of the conversation, because they do. They did realize that the context of the conversation is black man versus white corporation, not black man versus black corporation, or black man versus bad negotiated contract. They're sitting there ragging on him. Oh, Joe's this, Joe, blah, blah. Why the fuck you, Charlemagne, Mr. Black Man, why do you even think that it's okay for a white guy and an Indian dude? And I don't even know why he was so hyped, because nigga, you about to get the same deal. But they're literally sitting there like talking about this shit as if like, oh, jokers can't do business, da da da. Why are you in black people's business? And Charlemagne, you know better. And I forgot who the fuck it was that told him, keep your white boy on a leash. Keep your white boy on a leash. And that's what I mean by these fake pro-black business, pro-black, pro this, pro that. Like, all of that is a gimmick. A lot of these people like Charlemagne, T.I., Jay-Z even too, like to promote all of this blackness because they know it gets you, the viewer at home, to support whatever the fuck they have going on. See, Charlemagne knows that because he talks all of this black that, black power, black, he knows that people are going to stop going on YouTube. And not for nothing, YouTube does need competition. YouTube does need competitors because YouTube is very watered down and they're not letting people like me get in and do what is required. But it's cool because he knows that people are going to go to Black Effect. He knows people are going to stop going on Spotify and stop going on all of these other apps to go on iHeart, Black Effect, and watch Drink Champs and watch 85 South Show and watch all of these podcasts. But you know who I didn't hear on there? The Brilliant Idiots. His podcast. So it's just like he knows what he's doing and he doesn't care because his bottom line is covered. And if you promote black people and they bottom, if you fuck with black people and they bottom line and that's your shit, black man, get your money. I'd rather give the money to you, even though you filed first, over a white person. That is okay. Asian people do it all the time. White people do it all the time. So it's fine. Like, you don't have to say fuck Charlemagne to understand where I'm coming from. But just be wary. Feel me? Like, just understand that everyone saying that blackness is in your best interest. And that's period. So I got a couple more notes and I got a little more time. So I'll just go over oh yeah, I forgot to get on Nori. So yeah, I'm just sitting here like, so another thing for me that was just like, wow, was when they were talking to Noriega, because he's just sitting there. He's like, oh, yeah, first of all, he didn't even know the name of the network. He's like, yeah, what's it called? The Black Effect. That he's sitting there like, oh, like he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, it's obvious he doesn't know what he's talking about. But then in the same breath, he's like, oh, but yeah, we own Drink Champs. Yeah, we came too far not to own everything. How do you own Drink Champs? Like, how, like it's just like, how are these things owned if they're on somebody else's network? Or if you're like, Joe Budden is asking about his ad revenue and stuff like that. And for me, like, I took this situation personally because I feel like, even though I don't like Joe Budden, I know I don't agree with most of the things that he says, but it's just like, I feel like in that moment, he was speaking for the podcaster like me. So when a Spotify or iHeart or whoever big corporation insert here approaches me, I know to let these motherfuckers know what the fuck is up. Like, I want all of this. I want all of that. And I know you could give me this note. Like, he was talking about how there's basically like a clause in like contracts that's basically like, what you call it, once you reach this amount of streams or you reach this amount of relevance, which to someone who doesn't know business, it sounds fair. But once you reach this amount of numbers, right, you'll get a bonus and you'll start whatever. If the person who wrote the contract or owns the business says that the new number is here, you're not getting the bonus. And like, even like he says, like, you'll read over a contract and then like at the very end it's be like, oh, don't work with our competitors. Oh, okay, cool. Who's your competitors? The entire world and outer space and the next universe over. So it's just like, he really was dropping jewels, and not jewels like niggas be like, oh, get an LLC and think that they just told you something. No, he was real life dropping jewels, something that I wouldn't even know. As smart as I am, as much as I think I know, if I looked at a contract and it says, hey, once you get to, let's say 15,000 streams, we'll pay you more money, I might sign that because it sounds legit, not knowing that that company has the right to be like, oh, well, the new number that you have to get that amount is XYZ because insert fast talk here. So it's just like, I took it personally to hear Charlemagne going off and as upset as he was, because it's just like, motherfucker, you were just me. You were just me. Crazy ass mouth all the way from somebody's fucking Mumps Corner, South Carolina. It's crazy because my family's from Marion, South Carolina. So literally, Charlemagne is me. Feel me? So the fact that like he's upset or feels like Joe Budden is spilling some hidden tea that he shouldn't be, just really speaks to his character. Like, it really shows how shady Charlemagne is. Like, maybe Monique was on to something, y'all. Like, maybe she was on to something. Like, I'm scared. Because, like, it's crazy. Like, what do they say? Never meet your idols, man. It's crazy. Like, this whole situation just really woke me up. But, I really suggest, like, if you have your own podcast, if you just like listening to podcasts, if you like anything about business, listen to Modern Renovation on the Joe Budden podcast on Spotify, which you can also find a Burnout podcast on. Quick plug. But yeah, listen to Modern Renovation because he talks about a lot of stuff, and a lot of it might go over your head because I had to listen to that podcast like at least like twice, about 3 times over, and I listened to different clips like multiple times. But really listen to it and listen to what he's saying, because all you'll see is Charlemagne, he's over here and he's doing everything in his power to stop Joe Budden or to prevent him, and Joe Budden on this side is just like, I do not give a fuck. Do you? I just want to do me. I want to bring back information. I want to spread it to my people, and that's it. And I just feel like like, what's so wrong with that? White people do that. Asian people do that. Everyone does that but us. Like, we're the only people who feel like we need to know some shit. Like, if we know some shit, we got to be the only person on earth that knows it. 9 times out of 10, if you know something, someone had to tell it to you. So it makes it very unlikely that it's that key information that you need to hold on to it. And yes, I do understand being discreet with certain stuff. And I did say I like Charlemagne's discretion as far as his business dealings. It's nothing to do with Joe's though. So y'all just gotta, like, it's just a lot going on in the world today. And I guess, like, to even bring this whole podcast full circle with, like, even talking about cuties and this, what's good for you might not be good for me. And I feel like as Black people, we need to learn that, because we're so used to society clumping us all together. Like, oh, you're Black and you're Black, so you guys should be together. That's even like Michelle Obama. The Obamas literally would not have been a couple because Michelle Obama thought it was too cliche for the only 2 Black people in the law firm to be dating each other. So that just goes to show, like, against attraction, what we actually like, being genuine, we are so used to being clumped together some of us are so, I don't want to say disgusted or repulsed, but really that's what it is, by one another. We just like, we're like crabs in a bucket. And then there are other people on one side who are just like, yo, do what the fuck you want to do, bro. Like, if you want me to be a part of it, maybe I'll support you if I fuck with it. And then also because you're black. But if not, I will be okay. And I think that more of us need to follow in that mindset. I know I'm talking about we need to stop being so, but it's true, because at the end of the day, what one person does not affect you. So what Joe Budden wants to do, and I really do hope that someday Joe Budden really does own his own network 100%. Oh, I have another quote from Joe Budden's Modern Renovation. I want to, because he was spitting, y'all. He was spitting. One more quote that I found just like, duh. This nigga tells Charlemagne, because Charlemagne is just basically telling him, like, yo, I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't fuck with you. Like, I don't fuck with, obviously he's not saying I don't fuck with you, but he's telling him, like, I just don't fuck with what you're telling me right now. Period. Like, all of this business shit you're talking about is corny. You don't know what you're doing. And Joe Budden is just like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, da-da-da. You finished? Charlemagne, I'm a multi-millionaire doing this. And it's just like, that is true. That is facts. He is a multi-millionaire sacrificing more multi-millions to receive information to attain his true self-worth. And not for nothing, when he said that, like, I'm going to be quoting a lot of Joe Budden until the rest of the podcast, until we finish out here. But he like that's profound. I am a millionaire doing this, which means instead of showing people I'm already worth millions, so give me more, I rather find out instead of letting you tell me what I'm worth. I rather find out myself, my true worth, and then recreate that and generate that for myself instead of letting you give that to me. And for me, that's just like, how could you be mad at that? Like, what's wrong with that? So I really do hope one day that Joe Budden can create his own network or TV station. I would definitely be interested in tuning in. Hopefully he has like diverse content though, because I can't listen to too much Joe Budden all day. Like, imagine he does a TV network and it's like Everyday Struggle, the Joe Budden podcast, and what's the shit he got on Remote TV? Like, oh my God, I would not watch that. So don't do that. But yeah. And even like the Black Effect podcast, I'm just like, when they were saying, because when Charlemagne first made the announcement, I'm like, oh, this could be a great opportunity for people like me. Obviously not. If Black Effect come over here or for Mia Dale, I'm running for the fucking hills. I'm not fucking with that shit, y'all. But even when I was looking at the lineup, I'm like, so who on here isn't famous already? Like I don't know. And that's for another podcast. I was about to get into it, y'all, but I'm gonna save it for another show. Yeah, all in all, crabs in a bucket. And I just honestly feel like at this point, that mindset is tired. Like, and it's not going to do anything, because people are more so in the business of working together and pulling together nowadays more than they are moving as separate entities and operations, because the people, us, we told these corporations that we don't like that. Like, we don't like seeing our fave black people pit up against each other. We don't like the Naomi Tyra situation. We don't like it. So instead of trying to pigeonhole us and put us in a box, just let us be. And I'm not going to say these corporations are letting us, because no white person can't let me do anything, and certainly can't let you. But these corporations have heard that, and they have halted their tactics to, tear other black artists down, to build their one black artist up. So Charlamagne's really just doing this for nothing. Like, you're not doing this for your kids. You're not doing this for some like grand idea. Like, you're literally just doing this to be an asshole, bro. And I wish more people would like. Who, I don't want to say who is his fans, because obviously he has fans, but like, what are the age group? Like, what, like, who are these people that co-sign this? Like Charlamagne is funny. Like, I give him all of that. He does great interviews. He can ask great questions to people he fucks with. But he's too pick and choose for me. He's way too pick and choose for me, especially because he's supposed to be a well, he doesn't call himself a journalist, but even though he's supposed to be a journalist, he's just too pick and choose for me. I'm just like, where's the journalistic integrity? Where's the, like, you know, and I know I don't have journalistic integrity, but that's why I'm not a journalist. I'm a podcaster. Charlamagne, no, he's on the radio, so it's different. So I'm just like who are the people who are keeping his lights on right now at this point? Like, I need an answer to that. But I just feel like, oh, and then I'm gonna just get into this one last point because I'm pretty much done. I'm just sitting here chatting just to chat, but I'm giving y'all good information. See, at least when I talk just to talk, it's good stuff. And then the other thing, like with Nori basically saying, like, oh, that was actually this is my last point. Forget Noriega. I was gonna tell y'all that he didn't know what he could do within this contract, but that's not even anything. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. So, one thing I noticed in the black community, these are my own words. When a nigga got when a nigga got multiple jobs, niggas is like, yo, he paid. Like, he got bread. Like, when you see a nigga working, it don't matter if it's a celebrity or a regular Joe Smo. If your cousin Ray Ray had 3 jobs, and then you see Stephen A. Smith, and he's doing this, and he's doing that, and he just signed a contract to be on, I forgot what station forever. But, yeah, like, regardless, when you see a black person doing multiple jobs, that is a sign that is a good sign. When you see a white person just chilling, don't got no job, people usually think they're rich. Well, no, not even usually. He is rich. Like, and I'm not saying every white man and every black person, but like the overall, like, we like struggle. Like, we like struggle. We like to see, we like to know that we went through shit that we probably didn't have to go through, or other people in that area didn't go through, just for like a struggle badge. So with all of this, yeah, that's the point I was making. So with all of this going on, like, yo, Charlamagne is doing The Breakfast Club, Brilliant Idiots, all of these ads, all of these promos, all of this. And it's just like, if you are as rich as you say you are to be part owner of iHeart, why you gotta do all of this? Like, I'd be sitting back booling. Like, I'd be chilling. Filming, like, so for me, it's just like, the mentality has to switch. And if we keep taking, and I'm not saying Joe Budden versus Charlamagne in that aspect, but think of them as symbols of people in your life. Think of Joe Budden and Charlamagne as people in your life. Once as a society we stop taking the Charlamagne sides over the Joe Buddens, because the Charlamagnes are more shiny and more funny and more relatable versus someone really telling the truth, we'll be a lot more further, because at the end of the day, the power really is with the people. Shit, I know the power is with me. If I don't, bro, like, and not for nothing, maybe that's because I give myself too much credit, or maybe because you guys don't give yourself enough. I know if I don't want to watch something or if I don't want to support something, I'm not gonna fucking support it. And usually when I'm strong in that stance, it usually winds up flopping. Like Harriet. Like y'all see, I got on this podcast every fucking week up until that shit came out. And I said, do not watch the Harriet Tubman movie. I will not watch the Harriet Tubman movie. I even watched the Harriet Tubman movie illegally because I said I will not spend any money on that movie, and I didn't. Put Locker made money. Um, fucking the fucking Arab dude all the way across the internet sending viruses to my phone when I was on Put Locker made money. The people who made Harriet did not. So I was very happy about that. That was a win. So y'all talk all of this manifestation. It starts with the little things and then you can manifest the big things. So when you manifest something little like, hey, I'm just not gonna fuck with this and we'll see what happens, you can do bigger things. So I'm not even telling you this for me. This is for you. So yeah. You guys, make sure you listen to the last episode, Expensive Taste, where I'm talking about all of this new money in the black community and all of this old money the black community is hating on. And make sure you tune into this episode. I don't know what I'm going to call this episode. I talked about Joe Budden. I talked about cuties. What do y'all think this episode should be called? Cute buttons. I did it. Okay. So make sure you guys watch episode 2 of the Burnout podcast called Cute Buttons. I am Rebecca Shelby, your host. You're watching us here at S.STREET Media. Y'all already know what it is. This is the Burnout podcast. We came to talk about it. And we are